for folks to watch, and we'd just love to have you connected to us via YouTube. Lenape Solar email in basket. Boy, can they sell solar panels in this kind of weather. Lenape says they would love you to sell electricity to PPL or Citizens or the borough of Watsontown or Mifflinburg or Catawissa, wherever the borough is controlling the electricity. They would just love to help you with your electric bill by you being a generator and not a consumer of power. They want you to help power the sun for a brighter tomorrow, and they can help you do that. LenapeSolar.com, their main website, and they sponsor our email in basket. So when you email on the mark at WKOK.com, as one person has done, we simply falls right into the Lenape Solar email in basket. And the Sunbury Motor Company is our umbrella sponsor, but you can use that to keep the sun off your shoulders these days, in case you don't want any freckles on your shoulders or on your neck as you're out and about. And they have a lot of ways that they can help you out if you're interested in a Kia, a Hyundai, a Lincoln, a car, a truck, or you have an existing vehicle that's busted, and they can tow it and fix it. Doesn't matter what it is. They have what they call a master towing service that can tow anything, literally anything. There just isn't anything too big in this valley that they can't move, or anything too small they wouldn't be willing to move. I saw a Sunbury Motors rollback the other day with a Harley Davidson on the back, so they can pick that up wherever it happens to be busted and take it to the shop. Yes, they fix motorcycles at the Sunbury Motor Company. SunburyMotors.com, the place to find out about all the rest of the details of the things of whence I spoke. We did talk to one particular race driver locally yesterday who was talking about the Tony Stewart incident. 19-year-old Mike Walter of Selinsgrove says his first reaction was one of disappointment. As he watched the video, he says the accident could have been avoided. He says it looks like Tony just wanted to scare him but got too close. So that particular person weighed in. Then on Facebook had a fairly vibrant discussion about this, really just taking testimony, if you will, to see how people feel after watching what's a fairly graphic video. It's hard to see the graphic video on television. They freeze it before it gets to the actual collision of the person in Tony Stewart's car. But it does show the incident that preceded it, and on YouTube you can see it. Not that it really tells you too much, but it's obvious that Tony Stewart's car hit this individual. Some folks were saying yesterday on our Facebook page that Stewart wanted to get very close and maybe nick him. Others thought that he was trying to avoid him, even lost control in a minor way of the vehicle. So I would just love to hear your view on this. This certainly is something people feel strongly about. Racing is a big part of this. Of course, we saw that underscored yesterday as my lovely bride took a sunset drive through the country and ended up on routes 11 and 15, and sure enough, there's folks watching the NASCAR trailers come back from Watkins Glen. So that trek was strong.
Has that been going on 20 years plus?
I would think, yeah, about that. Yeah, it's and it still happens. Not quite as vibrantly as before. Not every single parking lot and every nook and cranny, but the great NASCAR fans. I've never done that, parked along the road and watched the trailers, but I've seen the trailers, and they are fascinating, and they're all painted up. So in any event, okay, so the Tony Stewart incident is in the news. One of our emailers sends us a note. Oh, this is from Than. Okay, it says, in my years of working as a track announcer at a small Saturday night bullring dirt track, I've seen angry drivers jump out of their car and show displeasure at a racing move that causes an accident. In my experience, leaving the comparative safety of the race car is highly discouraged for a couple of reasons. Most dirt tracks are poorly lighted in some areas. Also, many driving suits and helmets are dark colors and can't be easily seen. Drivers expect cars, track workers, and emergency personnel to be on the track and are on the lookout for them during a caution period, but are not expecting an individual to be walking at mid-track. Many tracks will disqualify a driver or pit crew encroaching on the racing surface because of the danger. A terrible tragedy affecting Kevin Ward's family and will be life-changing for Stewart. Could have been averted by strict rules of conduct. The racing fraternity will take this incident to heart and hopefully upgrade rules and discourage common sense on the racetrack, says Than. Kevin.
I think Than's right on. I think that the drivers leaving the security of the vehicle, once you do that, it's like walking across the highway without a crosswalk or with the crosswalk saying don't walk. You take your own risk there. Although there is some. I understand what people say when some of the comments on Facebook over the weekend, where I think he was trying to scare Kevin Ward Jr. He might have tried to brush him. That's hard to tell. I mean, you're under caution. It's a dirt track. It looked to me like he was trying to avoid Ward, and the back end kind of slid out on him a little bit because, let's face it is a dirt track. It was near a turn. I think even at lower speeds, it's kind of natural for that back end to kick out just a little bit, especially if he makes an abrupt turn with the wheel. Not defending Tony Stewart by any means, and also feeling, understanding the great loss that the Ward family is suffering right now. This is going to be discussed for a long time. I think NASCAR is the one that has to start the discussion, though. And what the discussion has to be is, instead of just a fine for the drivers that leave their vehicles at the professional level, I think they need to start suspending drivers for races. When they can't make the chase because of being suspended for 2 or 3 races for leaving the car or throwing something at another driver, that's going to stop it at the NASCAR level, and it trickles down. And I use the example of the NFL. The NFL creates rules that to eliminate younger players from copying what those players are doing at lower levels. And I think that's what NASCAR has to do. I think NASCAR needs to take the lead here as the professional sport and work its way down and show that this isn't acceptable and this shouldn't be done at the lower levels either.
Well,
phone number?
Folks who want to call us on this, 800-795-9565. But the scenario, though, of the accident, was there more going on before the accident? And the accident looked like just 2 cars, quote-unquote, rubbins racing.
It was a racing incident.
Yeah, so then this young guy, was there anything going on beforehand, though?
They've interviewed Tony Stewart twice, and nothing has come out. And the investigation continues, and I think it's important too, Mark. And I think this was discussed on CBS earlier today. It's being investigated by the Ontario County Sheriff's Department as a racing incident, not a criminal investigation, which tells me that they don't believe, at this point anyway, that there was any animosity, that the drivers had any animosity or had any negative contact or discussions before the race happened.
All right, 1-800-795-9565. What's your opinion, folks, about this, or just a terrible tragedy? No opinion about it other than the fact that your reaction is tragic loss. 1-800-795-9565. We'll take a quick break. We heard all 3 of our folks that have opinions weigh in on this, or mine briefly, plus young Mr. Walter. We read his views. He was on the radio briefly yesterday. Ben and Kevin have weighed in on this. Now it's your opportunity. 1-800-795-9565. WKOK basically accused of muckraking yesterday by bringing up the subject at all, and I thought we were really just participating in what was a national discussion about was it intentional, but could it have been avoided was the question we put out there.
Who accused you of that?
Well, one of the race fans around here says,
okay.
Why even bring it up if nobody's...
Wasn't it the lead
no
story on most, not even just sports?
Well, but our question was...
on news.
Yes, but our question was, did he do it intentionally?
Oh.
So it was a very leading question,
Okay.
very pointed, and it was designed to do exactly what it did, and that's to get people who might not otherwise answer to weigh in anyway. 1-800-795-9565 is our toll-free line. That's a 1-800-795-9565. And 1-800-795-9565. What is your opinion about this whole discussion that's underway after that incident Saturday night in the New York, upstate New York? 1-800-795-9565. Lenape Solar email inbasket at onthemark@wkok.com. And we'll be back in a minute after a word from our main sponsor, the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Steve Jones returns today from 3 to 5 on the Steve Jones Show to talk about the NCAA offering the Power 5 autonomy. That's 3 to 5 today on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
And players unionizing, and late night golf, and Tony Stewart, and NFL training camp, and Major League Baseball.
We might have some stuff to talk about today. I just something tells me it might be a busy day.
Two things when I heard the story about 7:30, 7 o'clock yesterday morning was, well, here's a tragedy that's happened. But the point that Stewart was considering racing yesterday seemed a little strange to me. And then, of course, 9:30 he was still racing. Then afterwards, somebody came to some realistic understanding that there was nothing good going to come out of him racing. But the other part is, I thought to myself, why is he racing at that level? And Kevin, I understand, you guys could talk about this afternoon, but Stewart was down at Selinsgrove Racetrack a number of weeks ago,
Winning.
But the part about it is, isn't it a little bit like a major league player, let's say a baseball player, saying, hey, I got nothing to do. I'm going to go down and pitch a little bit here at the Double-A level.
Okay, well, if you're a batter, let's use the example that you used. If you're a batter at the Double-A level and you're trying to make your way up to the top and all of a sudden you deck one off of this professional pitcher, doesn't that not only give you a little bit more credibility, but also helps you and makes you feel a little bit better about what you're doing?
Yeah, but okay, Kevin, let's take it another step farther though. You're a batter down there, and you go down. You're playing at the Double-A level, and you get hit by a pitch, and you break your hand. So now you can't help your major league team. So here's Stewart, who owns Stewart Haas Racing, a part owner, now goes and races at the junior tracks, the dirt tracks, which is very competitive and very good. But now look what happened yesterday. They were not able to compete on what his business should be, and that's the NASCAR circuit.
But that's a discussion, Ben, for him and Haas and for his sponsorship, not necessarily for us to decide, well, should he or shouldn't he be doing it. Those are the people footing the bill with Tony Stewart's name on it.
Well, hold it. If I'm Haas, and I'm looking over at Stewart going, hold it, are you in the NASCAR business, or are you going to go to the dirt track racing business?
I think it does. I think Carl Haas looks at it like this. This is a positive thing for him. With him going down to the dirt track levels, it actually creates more notability for him than he already has.
It does create a buzz. And also, remember, last year, he was out because he broke his leg. So he was out of the NASCAR.
Sure.
So
that's where the problem lies.
So here he goes down to a dirt track. Something happens, and the guy's a racer. But my question is, at what point are you a NASCAR racer, and on the high end of it, you still consider going down and playing with the youth and doing what you did growing up? But when are you an owner? And when you say, okay, that was fun, I did it when I was younger, now it's time for those other guys to work their way up.
I don't know. I sort of like it. I don't know that there's an analogy to this, but one of the reasons that the NBA players aren't allowed to participate in organized games is because anybody who's playing basketball that they see are invited to, they want to play basketball with these guys, whether it's in a driveway or on a schoolyard or anywhere. So they want to play because playing is what they love doing. They love competing. They love doing that. So I think that's why Tony Stewart, if you ever interviewed him, and I never have, in the 7 minutes of NASCAR coverage that I've actually generated, but we've interviewed other drivers who have said, I just love to race, and that's why I show up at the truck races, and that's why I show up at the sprint car, the real sprint cars.
Again, though,
dirt tracks.
Nothing against him doing that. He can certainly go and do that. But at what point do you say to yourself, going, hold it, I'm into NASCAR. I'm nationwide. Yeah, I'm running trucks. How much do you get? And going down to this level, does it create more of a positive? Or, as we've seen, last year he broke his leg, so he was out of NASCAR for a number of races.
But I think you'll see.
And then here he's going to have this, and there might be more to this story than meets the eye.
But if you ask him, Ben, I think he'll tell you that sprint races are what he loves even more than NASCAR. And this is like going back to his roots, and this is his way of giving back. Now, I'm not speaking for him. This is my opinion.
Well,
and by the way,
track.
Earlier I said Carl Haas is Gene Haas. Sorry, wrong Haas in Racing. This is the co-owner of Tony Stewart's
Stewart
car.
owns El Dorado track out in Indiana, a dirt track, so that's his passion. It'll be interesting. You do not see a lot of NASCAR guys going down, and you do see them every now and then. Of course, it's an option to do that, and it creates what you said, Kevin, hunting for the big dog type scenario, or running with the big dogs, trying to do that and make a name for yourself. But if you're the owners of that team, and also too, as a driver, do you owe it to your NASCAR business over a hobby type of thing you want to do? And I think that can be an interesting point discussed. But also too, there's a little bit more to this story, because something didn't look right when he was driving around the track, and unfortunately it could be just a real accident that unfortunately somebody was killed. But something just didn't seem right that something like this would happen. However, true accidents do happen.
One thing I keep hearing, and Dale Jarrett is one of the commentators over the weekend that mentioned about this and commented on this. He's been friends with Tony Stewart for a long time, and Tony Stewart's persona on the track is not the same as his persona off the track. He has a reputation of being a little bit of a hothead on the track, and that's definitely shows over the last several years. But his persona off the track is very laid back and quiet, and not as aggressive, we'll say. Now, could that have been part of it? That's all speculation. Whether he was trying to scare Kevin Ward Jr. or whatever. I can't imagine any driver would actually intend to swing near another driver who is out of his vehicle, out of the safety element. That's unfathomable to me.
All right, we're going to bring this up again. We have 2 emails pending that relate to this very topic, and we would love to hear from you. We're headed back towards the top of the hour right now, and you're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK, a Lenape Solar email in basket populated by messages sent to On The Mark at WKOK.com. We'd love to hear from you. And our toll-free line after 9:06 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time is... what?
Nope, it's still 800-795-9565.
Ben Reichley, Mark Lawrence, Kevin Herr, we'd love to hear from you. We're talking to Tony Stewart. 2 emails related to that topic. We'll read them when we return. Kevin, the greatest engineer the world has ever known. We'll scan some news headlines when we return, and we'll continue on this tack, talking about the news of the weekend. You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury. WKOK News Time. It is 9 a.m. Good morning, everyone.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. The violence that rocked a racially tense St. Louis suburb overnight has died down. CBS's Dean Reynolds tells us what he sees this morning in Ferguson, Missouri.
We're standing in front of a sporting goods store that has the front pane of glass shattered and lots of shoeboxes emptied around the parking lot. The police here told us they made 32 arrests overnight, and they sent 300 policemen to try to contain the violence, which they say included shots being fired at a police helicopter.
Looting and arson took place after a vigil to protest the fatal police shooting of an unarmed African-American teenager. In nearby Jennings, Missouri, officials have canceled today's scheduled start of classes because they don't feel it's safe for youngsters to walk to school. The United States says Iraq's prime minister has got to go. He says he's not going anywhere. Live to CBS News White House correspondent Peter Mayer.
Right, Frank, the administration now stepping up the pressure on Prime Minister al-Maliki. The U.S. backs his opponent, President Fuad Massoum, in his face-off with the embattled Prime Minister. Officials with the president here on Martha's Vineyard are concerned about the impact of Iraq's political turmoil, just as the U.S. takes military action against the Islamic State militants. And Frank, officials also confirm now the U.S. is sending weapons to Kurdish forces facing the Islamic fighters in northern Iraq.
Israel and Hamas are observing a new 72-hour truce. People living in a kibbutz in southern Israel say they'd like to see this one last.
I hope the ceasefire will hold. I can't give up hope. I hope everything will be okay.
And whether that happens depends on a new round of ceasefire talks in Cairo. A report out today says most people around the world aren't getting enough fruits and vegetables. Live to CBS's Vicki Barker.
The World Health Organization says healthy adults should be eating 5 helpings of fruit and vegetables, about 14 ounces a day. But the study in the British Journal of Nutrition says only 1 in 8 adults worldwide is actually eating that, and the majority aren't even getting half those helpings. Since research suggests those 5 portions a day can reduce your risk of premature death by a quarter, that lack of access to fresh fruit and vegetables is literally a matter of life and death. Frank?
Water is in short supply in ironically named Bay City, Michigan. Emergency official Ryan Mance says the city's losing 10 million gallons a day to a broken main, but residents should be all right if everyone acts responsibly.
Residential water use should be limited to the amount necessary to sustain life through drinking, food preparation, and personal hygiene.
Driver Tony Stewart's been questioned twice but not charged in the death of fellow racer Kevin Ward Jr. Ward was hit and killed as he walked towards Stewart after their cars bumped and he crashed. USA Today racing writer Jeff Gluck says Stewart has gotten into fights with other drivers before, but doesn't believe he hit Ward on purpose.
Maybe he's battling for position or blocking a guy, but to take a guy out like that, I think that's kind of a whole different level of classification.
S&P futures are up 9. This is CBS News.
Today is the day you switch to Rite Aid for one simple reason. Wellness Plus, the card that gives you credits you can use like cash. Plus, discounts that only members get. Plus, 20% off almost the entire store. Plus, that's for a whole year. Plus, rewards that start today and pile on every time you shop. So, if you're tired of missing out on all the pluses only Rite Aid delivers, visit RiteAidWellness.com to sign up and learn more today about Wellness Plus. Rite Aid. With us, it's personal.
Hey, Bob, how's business? Is the new website helping?
Not good. I can't figure out how to get the website finished. How did you do it?
Easy. I called Web.com. They built my website for free. Then they promoted it on all the search engines.
Like Google, Yahoo, and Bing?
Exactly. And Web.com has helped grow my business so much, I had to bring on new staff.
Hey, if Web.com did it for you, they're perfect for me.
Call now, 1-800-535-8815. That's 1-800-535-8815. Again, 1-800-535-8815.
These days, a cup of coffee can be more than just coffee and water. CBS News correspondent Barry Bagnato.
With pressure on coffee supplies increasing because of growing demand and drought-diminished crops, Brazilian researchers warn that more and more producers are slipping fillers into their products. They're telling the American Chemical Society conference they have developed a test that with 95% accuracy can detect additives such as corn, barley, rice, or starch syrup.
Department of Agriculture scientists believe that by altering the proteins in nuts, they can prevent potentially fatal allergic reactions. Sky gazers may have noticed that last night's full moon was bigger and brighter than usual. That's because the moon was in a closer than usual orbit, creating a phenomenon known as a supermoon or pedigree moon. This one was the second of 3 this year. The next and final supermoon takes place September the 9th. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
Today is the day you switch to Rite Aid for one simple reason. Wellness Plus, the card that gives you credits you can use like cash. Plus, discounts that only members get. Plus, 20% off almost the entire store. Plus, that's for a whole year. Plus, rewards that start today and pile on every time you shop. So, if you're tired of missing out on all the pluses only Rite Aid delivers, visit RiteAidWellness.com to sign up and learn more today about Wellness Plus. Rite Aid. With us, it's personal.
This is Charles Osgood. What is customer service? Well, for some, it's a warm greeting or a smile or perhaps even knowing your name. But for the independent agents representing auto owners insurance, it's about more than that. It's getting to know you and your needs so that you can get the proper coverage. Really, it's better than customer service. It's customer care. Go to AutoOwners.com to locate an independent agent near you. Auto Owners Insurance, the no-problem people.
News Radio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Ben Reichley.
Greetings and welcome on board the WKOK Live telephone talk show. Very, very, very glad to see you on the radio. It is an open phones Monday. It is, let's see, what day in August? It's the 11th day of August. We're almost halfway through the month of August, inching ever closer to Sunbury River Festival. So that's on the calendar this week. There's a lot going on around the valley and other locations too. So we're just glad to get another great August week underway. Our Gold Star winner this morning from AccuWeather was Heather Zaire for bringing fantastic weather. She gets cash bonuses and no penalties if it rains. So that's a good system to work out if you can. This is the On the Mark program. I am Mark Lawrence, the subpar host of the show, but I'm very glad that we have some superlative folks in or near the studio. Ben Reichley is here.
I'd say subpar can be good in certain sports.
Yes. Thank you.
Right?
Rory McIlroy was subpar, and look what happened to him.
That's true. Yeah, that's good.
There's a lot of people who wish they were subpar when they're on the golf course.
And almost no one wishes they were me. So
even the mini putt-putt course.
So, yeah, good point. Well, that's exactly why I say that, is that I'm about 2 strokes behind what I used to be. Wait a minute, that didn't work out either. Kevin Herr is the greatest engineer the world has ever known, has won more awards than anyone else on that side of the glass. So we appreciate his hard work. He's running the camera, meaning that he's standing behind the camera and focusing and zooming and tilting and panning and whatever else they do. I don't know if they have caster and camber also, but if they do, he could do it because he's the greatest engineer, and the webcam is up and running. So do check it out at WKOK.com. It's a 24-hour archive right there where you see it, or you can flip to the YouTube channel and watch the archives after the show and watch the On the Mark program. On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company. Boy, have they got a vehicle for you. They're a family-owned dealership. They're just inches away from their 100th anniversary, and they're going to have a celebration like no other at 4th Street in Sunbury and routes 11 and 15 Hummel's Wharf. They're going to be practically giving away Fords and Hyundais and Kias and Lincolns to a select few individuals that win, and they would just love to make sure that you're on the list of people that count themselves even luckier for the 100th celebration of Sunbury Motors that's coming up. But even before then, long before then, you can visit the Quick Lane, get your vehicle fixed, or just get a great vehicle at a great price at Sunbury Motors. They would love to help you out. SunburyMotors.com, their main website. Lenape Solar email in basket is open. You simply email on the mark at WKOK.com. If you have a business or associated with a business, or you work for a business, or in any way generate money in a business-like manner, and they would like to save money or help your owner or stockholders or help money be saved one way or another with a commercial lighting audit. The audit is something that you do pay a small fee for, and then upgrades typically have a certain degree of cost to them, but saving in the long run is the speciality of Lenape Solar, and they can give you a long list of clients. Every client they've ever had has saved money in the long run. You go to Lenape Solar, tell them you want a commercial lighting audit for your particular business. Out goes the tungsten, in goes the cool LEDs or fluorescents or whatever it happens to be. But they would just love to help you save money in the long run and save the planet, reduce fuel consumption. LenapeSolar.com is their website. Some brief news headlines. Dateline Harrisburg. The fate of hundreds of legislative proposals hangs in the balance when the state legislature returns to its summer break after a one-month vacation for lawmakers. There'll be a few voting days left. Most bills will die when the session closes at the end of November, but some will make it to the desk of the governor. Governor Corbett has been on the road pushing his argument for changes to the state's 2 large public sector pension plans. A list of proposals is long, though, and includes a cigarette tax to fund Philadelphia schools, a revision of the right to know law, and medical marijuana. The House and Senate return September 15th. The Senate will be in session for 10 days and the House for 11 after the November election. I'm glad to say that State House member Fred Keller is coming back to On the Mark. He'll be here Wednesday. A new study concludes that the much-debated Keystone XL pipeline would produce more global warming pollution than the State Department had calculated. The proposal pipeline would carry oil from tar sands in western Canada to Texas. The researchers estimated it would increase world carbon by as much as 121 million tons a year compared to the department's estimate of 30 million tons. The study author Peter Erickson says the government calculations didn't take into account that the added oil from the pipeline would result, as promised, in reduced prices for fuel at the pump. That would spur consumption, which in turn could mean more pollution. The study was published Sunday by the journal Nature Climate Change. So very concerned about that.
Well, interesting part of the equation. That's really leaping to try to draw a conclusion. But I guess.
But that's a big jump. 30 million if prices stay the same. 121 million tons if prices go down. You know, these things fluctuate as time goes on.
Well, it's got to move somewhere. It's either going to Asia or it could be coming here. And it's been a political football, and the State Department had approved it under then Secretary Clinton. Kerry has kicked it down the road. Secretary Clinton has sort of kicked it down a little bit. The president certainly playing politics with this, with the Tom Sayer money. Who the hedge fund person who's a Democratic fundraiser or giving his 50 million to 100 million to those that are under his environmental umbrella. So the politics come out.
All right, 1-800-795-9565 if you want to weigh in on that topic. Dateline Bloomsburg, a bridal store's refusal to sell wedding gowns to a same-sex couple is stirring debate in our area. The Press Enterprise of Bloomsburg reported last week that women tried to schedule an appointment but were turned down. WW Bridal Boutique owner Victoria Miller tells the newspaper that providing those two girls dresses for a sanctified marriage would break God's law. Bloomsburg Town Council plans to discuss the incident in a meeting Monday. Council members say they will consider whether to propose legislation to ban businesses from refusing to serve gays and lesbians. Miller's attorney Al Lucius says the shop owner has a liberty interest in refusing to take part in a process that would violate firmly and honestly held religious beliefs. And finally, exotic dancers from an Ohio strip club have protested topless outside a church. I'll read that again. Exotic dancers from an Ohio strip club have protested topless outside a church.
These are female or male dancers?
Female.
Okay.
In a demonstration that included some heated verbal exchanges between the protesters and churchgoers. The Conshohocken Tribune reports in Warsaw, Ohio, that no major problems occurred Sunday outside the Warsaw church that the strip club owner says has protested his business for years. So the church has been protesting the strip club for years, so now the owner decided to turn it around. The club owner, Thomas George, says judges have repeatedly denied his request for legal injunctions to keep church members from picketing near his property. The Reverend Bill Dunphy, the church's pastor, has said the latest action with the topless women protesting outside the church indicates the churchgoers' protests are working. The newspaper, it's bringing topless women to church, which was his goal, was to get the women in church in the first place.
Topless?
Well, not necessarily, but hey, if that's you come, the contemporary service in the morning says "Come as you are." So, all right. Anyway, the newspaper reports 6 bare-breasted women marched from a corner to the edge of the church's parking lot at one point Sunday. Most congregation members were able to leave, though, through a specially constructed rear entrance shielded by tarps so they could get to their vehicle without seeing the nudity.
And this is in Worcester?
Warsaw, Ohio.
Oh, Warsaw?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And then Conshohocken, I guess, is a suburb or something. That's the local newspaper. So fortunately, they had some blue tarps put up so that the churchgoers wouldn't have to see the nudity as they left church.
I've been to Worcester, Ohio. I have not been to Warsaw, Ohio, but I guess, as they say in real estate, location, location, location. And it sounds like these two entities have too similar of locations. They need to be a little farther apart.
Well, I'm not sure that they are that close. I think the topless women...
Well, they're across the street, or...
No, this is
okay.
just the...
So it's not...
well, there's no indication of that here. This is just the church protesting the topless women because of the adult business that takes place there. And the women, of course, have decided that they'd like to protest right back at the church.
So they're not sharing a parking lot.
No. Well, there's no indication of that. So I mean, there's, like you said, there's more to this than meets the eye. But,
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know how they would.
Can you see the mothers walking their young sons out of church,
I was just wondering.
covering their eyes as they get in the car?
Here you have a woman standing there with let's say she has a protest sign of some sort, or she's just yelling. How is that different? Okay, so, and the mother says, don't look, get into the car, put the bag over your head so you can't see or something. Because we have to get to the museum where the female form and the male form are proudly and appropriately displayed in all of their full nudity and glory, and depicted and painted and photographed and sculpted frequently. Or, I don't know.
Well, time, place, and age for a lot of things.
Okay, so on the street
corner. Probably coming out of church is not one of the things, or coming out of a school, or coming out of, not probably. But if they're making, and the protest is because the church is protesting their business, and the people are protesting back because
I'm not quite sure. I think they're protesting the fact that they get protested.
Mm-hmm.
Is the business owner has sought injunctions, but apparently the church isn't breaking that local law.
No, probably more people are going to go to church, and probably more people are going to visit that establishment because of that, what they're doing.
That's interesting. I wonder if that would have a sort of a negative effect, or a negative or positive, but have an effect of increasing church attendance. I noticed the whole football team worshipped on Sunday. So that they could get.
Oh, it could be the cross country team too.
Right. It's all the men's teams from the local high school would have an interest in helping out the Sunday school classes now. Alrighty, so 1-800-795-9565. Help rescue me from the abyss from which I've fallen here as we talk about these particular topics. 1-800-795-9565. We'd love to hear from you. We have 2 emails pending that relate to the sport of racing. One is signed by our experienced race announcer Than, who says on the subject of Tony Stewart, says race is race because they love it. Many dirt track drivers are equal to, and in many cases better than NASCAR guys on dirt. It's the love of the sport and the independence of the man that brings them to all sorts of racing. Tony owns Eldora Racetrack.
I think that's where they had a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race last year. Was that at that racetrack on dirt?
Okay.
No, I thought it was coming up, but they did have it.
Well, they had it last year. I know that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, the part about it is that's great. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are athletes that love skydiving, but in their contracts, they cannot skydive. Drew Brees, the quarterback for New Orleans Saints, supposedly loves to ride motorcycles. Well, he's not riding motorcycles while he's under contract to the New Orleans Saints.
But didn't the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback hurt himself in a motorcycle accident?
Ben Roethlisberger,
with no helmet. But the other part is, okay, Mark, you're starring in the upcoming, Star Wars movie, and you're a supporting role, but in your contract it says during the filming of this movie you have to do X amount of things, or you cannot do other things, and so this is protecting the goods.
What's that called? That clause, a behavior clause, a
number
danger
of
clause.
But again, you want to look at. Here is Stewart, and he is obligated to the Stewart-Haas racing team and to those sponsors. So now you're a sponsor. Say WKOK sponsors Tony Stewart. Well, if he's not racing, that diminishes the brand of your sponsorship. Your car's probably not going to be seen as much. You don't have a driver in there. They get a sub driver to go in. So at what point do you again give up some of the hobbies and keep to your profession?
All right, 1-800-795-9565. We're talking about Tony Stewart, but I would just love to hear folks' views on this. It's going to be at least part of the many things that are talked about on the Steve Jones Show this afternoon. Dan Patrick just tweeted out his schedule, and he's going to have Jeff Gluck. Am I saying it right? Gluck? Is that the right way to say it? The NASCAR writer. I've never had to say it out loud. Jeff Gluck, yeah, is going to be on that show. He's a writer that relates to NASCAR, very, very big on Twitter
but Mark,
and so on.
One thing, so why early on was Stewart going to race? I mean, that and then
why
also,
race at that track?
Well, no. Why? I mean, early.
Why was he going to race at Watkins
Sunday
Glen?
morning, he was still going to race. They were promoting that he was going to race, going to race. I think if something like this happens, you would think, hold it. This is a tragedy. The circumstances are murky. Not pointing fingers at anyone, but right away, his PR people should have said no.
Well, I think he was planning on racing and then spent some, the way it was described anyway by Dale Jarrett, it was Tony Stewart's decision that after thinking about it a little further, thought it would be better that he did not race. Now, whether anybody coerced him into that, I don't know. But that's,
come on, it would have been.
I was surprised to hear he was going to race. I'll put it that way.
The point about it is somebody did not get a hold of this. The handlers did not get a hold of this and understand the chaos that would have happened if he would have raced. I mean, the point would be that Tony Stewart is not racing today due to the tragedy, and then everybody's deeply concerned with what happened. The people just didn't get a hold of it, and it showed some real ignorance on the handlers and his team to say that. And even if Stewart says no, I'm racing, you keep that. You don't announce he's racing. You keep saying, okay, Tony, let's think about this and let's look at this. And I'll tell you what, if you're a sponsor for that, you're saying, hold it, you're going to race? You guys got to look at the bigger picture here. And again, it shows something's. This whole thing just seems a little strange. It's a true tragedy, but there's just something that's not adding up here, and we'll see what happens in the future. Now, does that mean Stewart did something to make this happen? No, but the whole point about this tragedy happens, somebody is killed, and then the morning all you heard was Stewart was going to race, and somebody didn't have a grasp on reality here and what was going on.
Well, I think you probably have to have watched it evolve within his racing tent, but or trailer. But honestly, it didn't surprise me that he was going to race. I mean, he's a driver's driver. Driving is what he does. Crashing, unfortunately, is part of it. Crashes that physically hurt someone else is also part of it. Crashes that go to the extreme and tragically kill someone else is part of it. But it didn't happen on that particular track. It wasn't his fault, and he's could have,
Well, that tried. We don't. Know that.
Well,
it wasn't a racing
I'm
crash.
just sort of setting out a scenario as to why he would say that he wants to race. It didn't surprise me that he was going to. I was actually surprised that he changed his mind, because I think if racing is what you do, and it'd be mean like not going on the radio because something happened in the news that really affected me, and I just think that professionals do what professionals do. They do it professionally, and they sort of put things behind them or set them aside temporarily so they can look forward and turn left, or at Watkins Glen, turn left and right and left and right.
But my thought is, Mark, that the difference here is if this were an accident where the driver would have been killed due to the accident, I think you would have seen Tony Stewart continue to drive and race in the Watkins Glen race, because that's considered part of the risk you take when you step in the vehicle as a driver. Every driver knows that. You hear that time and time again. However, I think the difference here was this was not due to an accident on the racetrack. This was a very unique situation. And I think that's why Tony Stewart initially wanted to race. But then, as Ben said, I think either as Dale Jarrett said, he decided, or someone said, hey, this is different than just a racing incident. I think you need to take some time and just step away from everything for a little bit.
Okay. 1-800-795-9565. Last call for folks to weigh in on this particular topic. Last word on this comes to us in an email. Says Tony Stewart is a professional. Though he has a temper, he's too good to take a chance on hurting another driver, except maybe in the pits with mostly harsh words and some shoving. Using a race car as a threat would not be Stewart's way, as we have seen in his long career.
I certainly hope not.
All right, 1-800-795-9565 will launch into open phones, the topic of your selection. Anything you would like to discuss. We did have a business in the news in Bloomsburg last week that decided it would not sell wedding dresses to two women, and that prompted a big discussion. My understanding is there's no law that requires a company to do business with another business or another client if they don't wish to. So what do you think about that? Is that the same as a business not doing client with an African American because they are prejudiced against those particular class of people and those wonderful people in our valley that are black? Is that the same thing, or is that different? Or is it a private business they can sell to whomever they wish? 1-800-795-9565, or the blue tarp that protects adolescent boys from seeing topless dancers on the street corner. 1-800-795-9565. We'd love to talk to you about the things in the news. Lenape Solar email in basket, populated by notes sent to onthemark@WKOK.com. Main sponsor, the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
On March 3rd last year, Henry W. faced his own death with incredible courage. He wasn't in an accident. He wasn't ill. He wasn't in any danger. But he faced this reality head on. If he died, his wife and children wouldn't be able to pay the mortgage, make the car payments, or keep up the life they'd had. His family would lose everything. So he picked up the phone and called AIG Direct. He found out that through AIG Direct, he could get a $250,000 life insurance policy for less than $14 a month. Now, he knows that he's helped make his family's future secure, no matter what happens to him.
Protecting your family with coverage through AIG Direct is fast, easy, and incredibly affordable. Call AIG Direct right now for a free no-obligation quote. The call takes less than 5 minutes, and you can save up to 70%. Call now. 1-800-463-7058. That's 1-800-463-7058. 1-800-463-7058.
Lee's Carpet resists spills and stains so well, Oberdorf's Carpet One Floor & Home is having a spillabration. Enjoy 50% off with 18 months special financing on select styles of Lee's Carpet. Plus, you can save up to 30% on select hardwood, laminate, and tile floors too. Hurry in, the Lee's Spillabration Savings Event ends September 21st at Oberdorf's Carpet One, Route 15, 1 mile south of Lewisburg. Subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See store for details.
Hi, I'm Megan from Selinsgrove. And even though I'm 10, I know the #1 cause of car crashes in the U.S. is distracted driving. Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation and Selinsgrove Ford want you to eliminate the distractions in your vehicle. Secure your passengers and equipment. Turn down the music and turn off the cell phone. This message brought to you by the stations of Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation, including News Radio 1070, WKOK, and Selinsgrove Ford, proud supporters of Susquehanna Smart Drive.
Great disco music, if there ever was any. 1985, the Four Tops.
It was?
I know. I'm making all that up. Kevin is just shaking his head no.
That's the least bumper music that can get people motivated.
Whatever credibility Mark once had. Let's finish it off once and forever. All right, 1-800-795-9565. We launch into open phones with 30 minutes left in the program. We would love to hear from you. Topic of your selection. We do have some emails pending, so we can sift through those. And this would relate most likely to a Friday discussion that had something to do with pensions. Our favorite listener in Texas sends us a note, and he says, "Fellows, I work with all types of folks in Pennsylvania to do so. I have to research many factors about the economy of the areas I'm working in and with. One of the stats I happen to have at hand is the median household income for all workers in the state of Pennsylvania for the year 2008 through 2012. It was $52,267 for that period of time. So it says median household income from 2008 through 2012 was $52,267. The national median household income for the same period was $53,000. These numbers are a long way from the $82,000 plus that Than said is fair for your area. Are y'all really getting the best bang for your buck out of our educators?" To answer Than's question, how to fix the pension problem, school districts and other agencies have to stop spending monies they don't have. New hires should not continue to receive pension plans that cause debt. This can be done by hiring contract workers without benefits, says Larry. So thank you for that, from Texas.
That was part of the pension crisis, and I think it was Lewisburg School District's average pension. It was on the one email that we had earlier, was around 80. I thought it was 87, but it had based compensation. If you go to that email that we just archived,
Oh, you want to see it again? Okay.
Yeah, that showed the numbers coming from Lewisburg.
Okay, hold on. Talk among yourselves for a second.
It's on the
going back in time. There you go. Oh, that other
archives.
One. All right. Jeez. Everybody
Right
out there.
Top.
There we go. Thank you.
Okay, so there it shows the average teacher salary for Lewisburg was $63,000, benefits 24, and the total compensation's 87. But just go to the base compensation at averaging at 63, and if the median income in Pennsylvania was 52. So again, and you look at contracts lengths and years and increases, and we have a problem with the public sector scenarios. Are they sustainable? But I believe the legislator can start by cutting their pensions and looking at programs there and then applying them elsewhere. But one thing that what is sustainable and what can be done, and how much more can you get out of the taxing the bodies that you're taxing, not just businesses but the people themselves. So to fund education, we will see. And does public education need to be looked at and reformed? In a lot of ways it should be, particularly in our area. We're somewhat insulated because we have pretty good solid schools for the most part. We don't have the urban-suburban problems that we see elsewhere. So sometimes we're removed from really understanding the lapse of education. But go down to the city of Harrisburg and you can see where the millions of dollars that have just been wasted in public education, and that's tough.
All right, 1-800-795-9565. We are talking pensions. Good morning, Dan. Thanks for checking in. You're on the mark.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good topics this morning. I'm talk about the Tony Stewart situation a little. I don't think there was anything sinister on his part. I believe it was a pure accident from all you could see. And the way his past was, I don't see anything that he would try to do something like that. And that's the way I see it.
Okay. Yeah, we got you.
If there's time, I'll bring up one other thing. And I'm a little bit of a motorhead, but on Saturday went up to the Bloomsburg Nationals, and they had a wonderful car in a classic car and hot rod show for the people that grew up in the muscle car period of time as I did. And it's very well done by Carlisle Events. Handle that now for the last 3 years. So if you're into cars, motors, and that type of thing, that's a great show. They didn't pay me to say that either. I don't know if any of you gentlemen ever got up to see that.
I've never been there. I've been to the big four-wheel drive trucks shows up there, but never the nationals that you're talking about. I saw they had the flame-throwing cars. They invited us up there to broadcast from the flame-throwing. I don't think that we did do that. Well, thank you, Dan. Very much appreciated.
It's a throwback to when you could see, you knew every car. Back in that period, there wasn't one car. I didn't know what it was. It wasn't a cookie. I call today's cars more cookie cutter cars. They all look quite a bit alike. Back then, we knew every car, what it was, what it had in it, all that. It was a different period of time.
Okay.
And it was, if you didn't grow up in that time, it's hard to know why we get excited about classic and hot rods.
All right, thank you very much, Dan.
You bet.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for the call. Yeah, quite the show. 1-800-795-9565. We've been talking pensions. One of our listeners sends us a note, says, why should a carpenter, plumber, car salesman, landscaper, barber, etc. foot the bill for someone else to retire when they don't get the same treatment? I know plenty of people in these occupations that have 4-year degrees. Plenty. These people can't afford to retire when they have to pay for someone else's retirement. It's pretty simple. No new pensions for public employees starting tomorrow. How would that work in your view, Cindy?
Amen to that. Amen to that.
I had a
but
feeling.
I just wanted to share that Senator Scarnati, who is a Pennsylvania senator from, I'm thinking Clinton, Jefferson, that kind of area, county.
Little west. Yeah, little west.
Sorry.
That's he's out right past Clinton.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Anyway, he proposed eliminating the pensions for the elected officials, and especially for the House and Senate. And I'm with him. In the plain reading of the Constitution, there is no pension for them. But, of course, they passed a pension for themselves years ago, and the courts, who benefited then from getting that pension, read through the tea leaves, down deep in between all of the fibers in the Constitution, and magically found that they should have a pension. And that pension has perverted the behavior of these legislators ever since the darn thing was passed. So I think we'd all be better off if, step one, they passed Senator Scarnati's bill and eliminated the pension for all future elected representatives. Now, apparently they magically hide behind the "you can't take it away from me" either clause, but we could say, that's it. We're the employer, and we've decided that you all are not going to get a pension anymore.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Well, and I think we can do that with every public and service employee from top to bottom. I think it was a wonderful benefit while it lasted, but we can increase salaries if necessary to compensate for the fact that pension's not part of it. But obviously it's costing us more than we can afford, and it really changes the nature of public service. I think a lot of people used to get into public service so they could do good, help their community. Of course, it was typically steady employment, but it wasn't a cash cow like it is now. Now all the salaries are so inflated that it's sort of lost its way. It's public, it's a it's a cushy job.
Thousands in Pennsylvania, thousands of state employees, and then add in the teachers union, thousands of them are compensated at $100,000 a year and higher. This is, you can go on to Penn Live and you can see a list. It's no secret. And thousands and thousands more have already retired on pensions that exceed $100,000 a year every year, $200,000 a year every year, $300,000 a year every year. I mean, that's just ridiculous, because the longer we persist in keeping the structure we have in place with public schools, 500 superintendents, almost every one of them over $100,000 a year, quite a few over 200, and their assistants, again, over 100,000, 200. Why do I bring that up? Well, your pension is based on your last 3 years of employment, not the years that you were a public school teacher making 40 and 50,000 like many public school teachers used to do. They made that, oh sure, but in sticking in there, they are there at 40 years now, 35, 40 years at $100, $200, $300,000 a year, and they're going to get that pension at that amount, $300, $200. I mean, it's just beyond the pale. And what it's doing is it is sucking the dollars out of our classrooms. You want to know why it's happening? Because we're putting up with it. And it's up to us to insist that they look at reorganizing the school districts so that there is far less administrative overhead. And as soon as you shed all those administrators, the cost of the pension is going to drop dramatically because it's projected to be so bad because we're paying for thousands and thousands of $100,000 a year pensions. Well, let's ditch them.
Well, and as Walter Brash said, you and I, Cindy, are fools because we keep electing these elected leaders that keep doing this and making it worse and worse and worse instead of affecting any positive change. So that makes us fools.
Well, not me, because I don't re-elect these people. But if Dr. Brash re-elects them, I can't speak to his voting record. But I can tell you that I do not make a habit of sending back incumbents. They get 3 terms max from me, and they're out of there.
Gotcha.
Period.
You know, and as you hear this, you run into troopers a lot. They do the same thing. They have the opportunity to boost their salary based on 3 years. You'll see them, and they're retired after 20 and out, and you'll say, "Hey, trooper, how are you?" And he says, it's corporal now because I bumped myself up to corporal before I quit so that I'd get a corporal salary before I retired."
And their overtime. They'll work like dogs for those last few years, racking up the overtime because that's more salary in the last 3 years. Or in public school, sure, the base rate for the teacher is, let's say, $65,000 a year. But then they agree to be the department head, another $1,500, $2,000. And they coach as an assistant in a team, another $3,000, $4,000. And on it goes. They plus up their salary, and it's that total that is what their pension is calculated on.
Right. If you ever call a state police barracks and a corporal answers, think overtime, working the desk on a holiday.
Well, and what I thought was interesting is that then when proposals came in to have non-police personnel do non-policing jobs within the police department, like record searches and those kinds of things, well, the police fought it tooth and nail. Their union fought it tooth and nail because the effort was to put them back on the street for which they're highly trained, to get them out there actually policing instead of pushing paper. But one could understand if you could just sit on your tuchus. And we see this across the board. If you can make yourself a cushy nest and lay low, racking up that pension, then you're in a good, you're serving yourself. That's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. All right,
but let's all back Senator Scarnati. Call up Gordner, call up Keller, call up Schlegel, Culver, Masser. How am I doing? Did I get them all? Locally here,
Moss.
And demand that they push to get that bill passed.
All right, pretty darn good. You did good. Thank you so much, Cindy. And, of course, all of our listeners won't do any of that. So
sure they will.
Keep
sure
electing
they will.
the
I have
same
faith
guys.
in people.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, Cindy. 1-800-795-9565. We take another quick break. We return on WKOK's On the Mark program. We would love to hear from you. An open phone, 1-800-795-9565. You're welcome to call us utilizing the Lenape Solar email in basket at onthemark@WKOK.com. We will be right back.
For more than 3 years now, Radio PA and PAMatters.com have brought you exclusive monthly conversations with Governor Tom Corbett. It's your chance to have the Governor of Pennsylvania answer your questions and comments on the issues affecting you.
The state has had a very difficult time as a legislature to come up with the resolve to deal with this head on. I said when I ran the first time, I'm going to make the tough decisions, and that's what people want you to make.
Let us answer your question on our next Ask the Governor program. Go to PAMatters.com today and click on the Ask the Governor link at the top of the page.
Important pieces of legislation that play into the budget, not the least of which is the pension issue.
PAMatters.com is also home to exclusive video clips from Ask the Governor, a show honored as Best Public Affairs and Best Talk Show by the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters and the PA Associated Press Broadcasters Association.
I'm Governor Tom Corbett. Please join me on Radio PA and PAMatters.com for a discussion on the issues facing our Commonwealth. Submit your questions or comment today.
Ask the Governor on PAMatters.com.
We live in an era of innovation, so we remade the Chrysler 200 from the factory floor up. We've transformed the science of shifting with a class-exclusive 9-speed transmission. We created a rotary E-shifter with craftsmanship you'll feel each time you twist it into gear. And we modernized fuel economy with 36 mpg highway. It's the American sedan people didn't think was possible. We made this, the all-new 2015 Chrysler 200, America's import.
Things have changed.
Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2015 Chrysler 200 Limited for $179 a month for 36 months with $19.99 due at signing. Tax, title, and license extra. Based on Chrysler Group LLC standard midsize sedan segment. EPA estimated MPG with 2.4-liter engine. Call 1-888-CHRYSLER for details. Requires dealer contribution and lease through Ally Financial. Excludes all of the Chrysler Group LLC vehicles. 20-cent charge for each mile over 30,000. Residency restrictions apply. Take delivery by 9/2.
WKOK Text Connect brings breaking news right to your phone. As a WKOK Text Connect member, you'll be the first to know. And with a smartphone, you can link right to the story on WKOK.com. It's free to become a WKOK Text Connect member. Just visit WKOK.com to sign up and select the alerts you want to receive. WKOK Text Connect alerts are sponsored by Evangelical Community Hospital. Message and data rates may apply. Check with your mobile provider for details.
See Senator Scarnati's district, McKean, all of McKean, all of Potter, all of Tioga, parts of Clinton, most of Cameron, all of Elk, some of Jefferson, a sliver of Clearfield counties. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Out there where it's now 70 miles an hour on Interstate 80.
Oh, is today the day?
Today was the day, yeah.
Okay.
And 380 as well up in the Poconos.
And the funny thing is, Kevin doesn't even have to go there, but he's going there just to go to drive.
I just want the ability to do that. Actually, I think it's south of Richmond to the North Carolina border just about. It's 70 miles an hour on Interstate 95. And then in North Carolina, it's 70 miles an hour.
Well, if you're on the turnpike or you're on 80 and you're not going 70, you become a hazard. So even though the speed limit might say it's they've been going 70, 75.
Yeah, the pace setters are all going 70 or 80.
Driving above the posted speed limit is not necessarily recommended by the Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation.
All right, back on the topic of pensions, got a couple of emails pending. One says, perhaps if the present legislators were willing to see the same changes to their pensions that they're imposing on future employees, they would be more acceptable to this plan, says Nicole. Well, let's see. Schlegel Culver gets a pension or is contributing to a pension, but Fred Keller does not participate in the state's pension program at all. Kurt Mosser does. He's very much interested in the status quo. Another listener sends us a note, says, I realize that the representative was not in office at the time of the change to state pensions in 2001, but something I never hear mentioned is the fact that state employees were enticed to vote for the change since it increased their pension and contributions by 25%, but it also increased lawmakers' pensions by 50%. Any mention of reducing that? Haven't heard any. Yeah, nobody cuts off the branch they're sitting on.
No, I think the Ridge administration made it very positive for the pensions because it got into some retroactive parts, and I believe that was that 2001 time frame that legislation was put up. So again, this is a bipartisan problem, and we're feeling the effects. And now it's time to pay the fiddler, and there's not going to be a whole lot of money to pay him with.
All right, 1-800-795-9565. I got to stay right on schedule, so I'm going to take one more quickie break this morning, and then we have 3 emails pending, and I'll at least read them. I'm not sure we'll have a lot of time to discuss them, but we'll read them, we'll go through them, and we would invite you to call us now. We were talking public pensions. Earlier we talked Tony Stewart. We're going to wrap up on Open Phones Monday here in a moment. 1-800-795-9565. I'd love to hear from you. 1-800-795-9565. 9565. Emails sent to the Lenape Solar email in basket have to be addressed on the mark at WKOK.com. Our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
This is Justin Charles from Lenape Solar. Did you know we use exclusive manufacturing partners? Our solar modules are made with American components in an American factory by an American company in Milwaukee. Our lighting fixtures are made less than 3 hours away in Philadelphia. Even our fluorescent lamps are made here in the U.S., as are our solar racking systems. We're dedicated not just to quality, but our local economy. Find out more by calling 286-1496, online at lenapesolar.com, or drop by our showroom at 140 South 2nd Street, Sunbury, and see these products in person.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
On March 3rd last year, Henry W. faced his own death with incredible courage. He wasn't in an accident. He wasn't ill. He wasn't in any danger. But he faced this reality head on. If he died, his wife and children wouldn't be able to pay the mortgage, make the car payments, or keep up the life they'd had. His family would lose everything. So he picked up the phone and called AIG Direct. He found out that through AIG Direct, he could get a $250,000 life insurance policy for less than $14 a month. Now, he knows that he's helped make his family's future secure, no matter what happens to him.
Protecting your family with coverage through AIG Direct is fast, easy, and incredibly affordable. Call AIG Direct right now for a free no-obligation quote. The call takes less than 5 minutes, and you can save up to 70%. Call now.
1-800-463-7058. That's 1-800-463-7058. 1-800-463-7058.
Coming up after 3 on the Steve Jones Show, the O'Bannon decision and Tony Stewart's incident in upstate New York. Join us 3 to 5 on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Welcome back to WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark. I am Mark Lawrence, subpar meaning better than average here, hosting the show. We're very glad that you're with us. Ben Reichley is one of the greatest co-hosts we've ever had.
I'm just here to co-host.
You're just here to do your job.
Let's take call. David's on line 1.
Right, 1-800-795-9565. I say no to Kevin. He puts a note up on the board. I say no. And David is on the line. David, you're on the mark.
Hi. You guys are doing a great job as always. One other thought. Solicitors. It amazes me. Not many states have solicitors that attend every school board meeting. We need to take a look at the cost of solicitors. I'm in Rogers, Arkansas a few years ago, and I asked for the school board minutes, and I asked who was present. I says, was a lawyer there? And the secretary says, why would a lawyer be there? And I said, well, if something comes up about educational law, secretary says, well, the superintendent then gets out the education code and reads it, or calls a fellow superintendent. I don't know, but we spend an awful lot for solicitors at meetings that other states don't require. And, of course, the other big thing, if we unified financial officer, curriculum director, one superintendent for 4 or 5 schools, we'd save an awful lot of money. So we're willing to pay more taxes because we're unwilling to unify or take a look at some expenses that we have that other states don't have.
Well, and what does, I agree with you there, but isn't it kind of like a thank you job if you've done a good job as a local attorney and you've, settled a couple of little real estate deals for us or whatever it happens to be, then you get to be the solicitor?
Well, other states don't seem to have that procedure. It's almost like feather bedding in one sense. And then some of these guys are solicitors for several townships or several school districts.
Right. Yeah, that's the bread and butter for some of the law firms around here. And then you can get the home run and become the full-time solicitor for Northumberland County. Then you don't have to do your regular job anymore. You could just be their solicitor, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. Y'all continues to be solicitor for a school district, and he's a state senator.
Well, that seems like a conflict, doesn't he? Get involved in legislating things that relate to the schools?
That's a great question. Anyway, got to keep this airing with the election coming up. We can put some caps on some of these pensions, but let's unify and let's eliminate expenses other states don't have, because it's unnecessary frosting. It's almost waste. It's feather bedding.
It'd be like you have an attorney at your house because you're discussing important topics with your bride,
Yeah.
So, well, we have to have an attorney here because, we might have a question for a law person. All right, we got you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Appreciate it, David. Thanks for the kind words, too. 2 emails pending. The subject of one is putting your money to work for your beliefs. It says, Mr. Bruce, and this would be Raymond Bruce, the interim president of Kentucky State University. It says, Mr. Bruce is a fine example of putting your money to work for what you believe. I applaud him for using his money to make a change for his employees. It is food for thought for his peers and other colleges and universities. For example, Dr. L.J. Lemons, the president of tiny Susquehanna University, enrollment about 2,000 students, is paid $360,000 annually. According to Charity Navigator, Bucknell's president was paid $521,000 in 2012. We don't know what Dr. Brovman's salary is. Bloomsburg University president was paid $200,000. Raymond Burse, the interim president of Kentucky State University, recently elected to have his salary decreased from $350,000 to $260,000 in order to boost the paychecks of the university's lowest paid workers. Burse's pay cut will increase the salaries to 24 KSU employees, some of whom were making as little as $7.25 an hour to $10.25 an hour. And Burse said that giving up his $90,000 is a response to tough times and wanting to ensure that university workers know the school board and president care about them and want to do the very best by them, says the local newspaper. Kentucky.com is one place where you can get that information about Raymond Burse, interim president of Kentucky State University, agreeing to take a salary cut specifically so that in that case minimum wage employees would be paid a little bit more. So, good idea or not? What's your view on that?
Well, you have the board of directors or the trustees at a university, and they're setting salaries. But if you look at over the last 35 years, and particularly higher education, you look at a dramatic increase in the cost per student. Has the overhead of universities risen in accordance? Most likely not. But you have the business of education. We talk about public schools, but look at higher education, and you see, just a huge growth. Of course, it is sold to the general public, high school students, that if you don't go to college, you might not be able to advance as much in your occupational field. So there is a need for higher education. There's a need for education, basic education, but the cost of higher education and just the cost of, again, public education has dramatically increased over the last 25, 30, 35 years.
Kevin?
Mark, a quick update for the Steve Jones Show this afternoon. We'll be talking on the attorney side of things. A civil case could be pending in the Tony Stewart incident in upstate New York. Bob Buhner will join us on the Steve Jones Show to discuss that. And, of course, we'll discuss another lawsuit involving the NCAA as the ruling came down over the weekend for the O'Bannon lawsuit and what that means to football and basketball in college sports, with some money being paid to the players, it appears.
What, $5,000 cap?
A year.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah, we haven't turned to Attorney Buhner for wisdom and legal insight in almost 90 minutes. So we got to bust that streak.
He is now officially our legal analyst.
Is he your solicitor?
No, he's our legal analyst.
Yeah, he sits in at every Steve Jones Show meeting. We pay him in case we need legal viewpoints. Jeff Gluck, NASCAR expert, going to be on the DP show coming up from 10 to 1 on WKOK. So is Clayton Kershaw. As I said to Ben 20 minutes ago, is he a baseball player?
Very good pitcher for the Dodgers.
He's okay.
All right, thank you. All right.
I'll see you Friday. We'll talk income inequality on Friday.
Oh, we can't wait. We're talking Walmart again on Friday. You're listening to News Radio 1070 WK. WKOK Sunbury. WKOK News Time. It is now 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time. Time for the news, and then Dan Patrick.